Hey guys, this is Nick, and this is your next geeky review. This one's going to be on Maneater. Now, I've been waiting like crazy for this game to come out. I've been checking it out and following it for probably a year and a half, 2 years now. And it finally came out not that long ago. And I was super excited to jump into this one. I couldn't believe it had finally come out. I thought this thing was going to be vaporware. So I went ahead and dove into it pretty early on. And the reason it took me so long to do a review is because I 100% of the game. so that should give you a brief impression of what I thought about it, which is to say that I had an absolute blast with this game. But if you're on the fence or you want to know more what it's about, that's kind of what we're here to do. So let's go ahead and get into it. The basic premise of the game is it's kind of a revenge story, right? You start out as just this huge like bull shark terrorizing the whole area. This hunter comes out and kills you, and then cuts the baby. Find out you're pregnant, and he cuts the baby out of you and marks it and dumps it in the water. Well, you plays the pup, the little baby, right? So you start as this itty bitty little pup of a bull shark in a bayou full of like these big, mean, nasty alligators and all these other sorts of things that find you food. So the whole idea is basically around you getting strong enough to go back after this antagonist known as Scaly Pete, who's a good old boy down from the bayou, and he just likes hunting sharks because that's what he does. And literally, he kind of sounds like that. No joke. Uh, it's a very black and white kind of story. It's very Jaws Revenge. It's very Moby Dick. Only instead of this time as playing the human, you're the shark. So you get to go through and nosh on everything that's in the water and mostly out of the water as you jump out and you attack people and just cause all sorts of hell. It's a lot of fun, guys. No joke. Now, to go more into the specifics of it, we got to go into the gameplay loop and everything like that. Now, when you start out and you're an itty bitty little bitty pup, you can only really do like a simple bite attack. It's like a left click of your mouse. I'm sure it's a trigger button on the controller. I didn't use a controller for this one. As you get a little bit older and you become a teenager, you get a tail whip. Now, what that does is that allows you to not only bite onto things, but you can whip around and hit it with your tail, knock it back, get some distance, so you can either dart out or you can stun or stagger, those kind of things. Now, as you get stronger with your opponent and you grab them the right way, you can do what's called a thrash. And the thrash is when you're actually kind of doing the biting motion, doing that, and then you're also moving either the analog stick or moving the mouse back and forth. And what that does is that allows you to hold on to the target longer and do extra damage, which is very much what a shark would normally do. Sharks don't just generally bite into something, they bite onto it, and then they shake their head back and forth. That's because their teeth are basically tiny, tiny little bitty saws. So they're ripping and tearing through whatever they're eating, which allows them to get out of larger chunks so they can just kind of swallow it down their gullet, because they eat like my dog. Just to say, they just sort of swallow their food. They don't really chew. So that is your basic gameplay loop. Now, you do have a couple of things as you kind of go up in ranks and gain different abilities. You get different organs that allow you to process minerals, to process fats, to process proteins, which are the three main resources in the game that you need to do your evolutions. There's one other called mutagen, which you also get an organ to let you process that better. But you generally don't need that much of that in the game, so I never really found that one all that useful. Now, the other things that you get on top of that is you get different sets. There are 3 sets in the game. There is a bone set. Now, what that does is that makes you have more mass, which allows you to do more damage to boats. It puts armor plating on like your fins and your head, and your teeth get all like bony and everything like that. And what that does is that allows you to really do a lot of damage when you ride into a ship. So you can do a ton of damage that way. You stand a higher chance of knocking somebody out of the ship so that they're vulnerable and you can just kind of nom on them in the water, which is your natural habitat. Now, you also get what's called a bioelectric set. And what that does is that basically does a lot like what it sounds like. you basically generate electric charge. So your teeth add stun counters, your dodge that rolls you left and right, which is a normal move that you have in any other variations, and just normally for standard evasion in the game, turns into lightning. So you sort of zap one way or another as lightning and disappear, and you leave this little cone of electricity when you do that. And that can also do damage and add a stun counter. Now, when you use your tail whip in that one, what it does is it shoots out a jet of electricity out in a forward arc, wave arc, almost like Guile shooting out a sonic boom. And when they hit somebody, that can add another stun counter and does damage as well. The last set that you have is called a Shadow set. This is meant for more hit and run and survivability. What it excels at is doing poison damage and slowing your target. When you bite, it's vampiric, meaning you gain health. So as you're attacking, you gain health. It's meant to go in, cause somebody to bleed, dart out, come back in, and hit them again. All three of these have their uses. The two that I ended up using the most and found the most useful was the bone set, because that allowed me to do a lot of damage to the ships. Early on, I really enjoyed the bioelectric set, which is still a lot of fun, because they all had different special abilities on top of their normal thing. And the bioelectric one is that you start arcing electricity around you, and the music changes dramatically. So when you're on a boat, anything you come in contact with gets electrocuted. And when you're in the water, it'll arc out and hit other targets and stuff like that as you're fighting them. So it's really good for handling multiple opponents. Now, the bone armor armors you up to where you get even more resistance and you can take more punishment. So you can activate that all the time so long as you're really actively eating. Because each one of those special abilities is handled by basically eating targets. As you eat and you get more aggressive on it, the charge meter builds, and then you can hit a key or a button on your gamepad and activate it, and it does its different special ability. Now, the Shadow one basically adds this noxious cloud thing all around you that does poison damage in an AoE, which is not only good for keeping poison stats on a target and keeping them slowed and adding more damage because it stacks, it hits anything else around you, so if you have multiple targets, it's good for deterring them as well. Now, a lot of your damage scales basically being leveling up these sets because they go from tier 1 all the way up to tier 5. The next way you level up is by growing. Because you start as a little pup, you grow into a teenager, then you grow into adult, then an elder, and then finally you become what they call a mega, which is basically a 9-meter shark. Guys, that's like 30 feet long. You are massive by the end of this thing, okay? You basically make Jaws look like a teeny tiny little baby. You're huge. Bull sharks don't get this big, by the way. And even when you're a 9-meter shark, you can still swim in shallows so shallow that I think I could probably be like ankle deep in water and you would still be on top of me. It makes no sense. This game does not try to take itself seriously. It is out to have a good, chaotic, fun time. And that's what it does. Even all the way up to having the hunters go out and the comments that they make, and the special hunters that come out. They have all these little goofy animations as they come out to like attack you and stuff like that, which is one of the perks to actually attacking humans. As you attack them and you get further up, the empty meter goes up. It's a level from 0 all the way to 10. Each time you hit a rank and change ranks, and a new named person comes after you. If you can defeat them, you can get things like a new set, like the bioelectric set is gained that way. And there are various different organs and things like that that are gained that make you far more effective in combat. So it behooves you to basically, occasionally, just go on a man-eating rampage and jump up on the shore and eat people, or tear down that flamingo paddle boat, or eat that guy in the canoe. Why not? Have fun with it. Eat them. That's what the game's about. And then they come after you, and they're cracking all sorts of jokes until you come out and wondering why you're still over them, and you're just tearing up boats and knocking them out. They're flying through the air, and you're leaping up and grabbing them, pulling them down under. There are divers that you're just grabbing and dragging down to the ocean floor. It's just craziness, and it's so much fun. I would not give this game a 10 out of 10, but I would definitely give it a high recommendation if you're into this sort of thing. Now, that said, as much fun as I had with the game, it does have a few minor glitches. that you should know about that at least I ran into in the PC. I don't know about the console version, but on the PC, I did have the game crash on me about twice. It just crashed out to the desktop. Now, on top of that, I did notice a little bit of a glitch as far as slowdown. It would kind of chug a little bit here and there. And that's with me having a beefy PC, guys. Now, I've got a 970 Samsung NVRAM like SSD in my computer, a 2080 Ti, 64 gigs of RAM, and a water cooler in this bad boy. With tons of fans to keep the chassis cool. And it still bogged down occasionally. Whether or not I was recording or not, it would still bog down. It didn't seem to matter. So I think it's the game engine and the way they're trying to render things. I think they struggled a little bit with the Unreal 4 engine on this one. I don't know why, but it just seems to chug at times. It happened to me, and it happened to my wife, who also played through the game. Now, on top of that, you're gonna have to just stop and look at this game. It's beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Wow.
Going down to the ocean floor, or just looking at the coral reefs. Looking at the ships
so gorgeous.
And all the stuff that's just sunken down there that you can explore.
Oh, I
is
want to explore
just
this wreck. Oh,
great.
screw the storyline.
It's beautiful.
Let's take a look at this
If I were to
wreck,
give
guys.
that any critiques
Can I
at
go in?
all,
Can I go in?
it
Can I
would
go
be
in?
to let me go inside some of these
come
ships.
on. Let me go in.
A lot of these are just textures. They look like they have open windows, but you can't go into them, which is just a big disappointment because I would have loved to just spend time just swimming through the ins and outs of these
Seafloor
things.
bed and everything.
But you can't
Oh my
in this one.
god.
I'm hoping eventually we'll get some DLC for this. Maybe they'll let you play as a different shark,
cool.
or maybe they'll have a second one, because there's a few threads there that you could probably pull that you could make a second game if this one did well enough. So if we're lucky, we'll get another chance to go into this crazy mixed up world where basically you just play a predatory shark that gets to run around and eat people all day and live out the fantasy of, being in a Jaws movie, only, being the shark that gets to terrorize people instead of being the people getting eaten. And hopefully don't take a bite out of an explosive canister that then gets shot by a gun and you explode. Because that's a bummer. And I wouldn't want that. I just want to eat people. But, yeah. Sorry. I can't. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it if you have the time. It's very aware that it's not to be taken seriously. It's very aware that people are busy because it clocks in under 15 hours. Even if you 100% the game, it clocks in under 15 hours, which is great because it's a good bite-sized little game that you can sink your teeth into. See what I did there? And have a good time with. And no matter what you do, even if you just grab a couple collectibles or a couple landmarks here and there, you still got something done in the game, and you had fun just swimming around, checking everything out. It's just that kind of game. Now, would I go back and revisit it? Maybe here and there, but it'll probably be a while before I touch this one again, because I got through everything that I wanted to get through on the first shot. Maybe going back on it later and focusing on another set and trying to beat the last couple fights with just that set might be fun. But overall, for the $30 that I played and the $30 I paid and the 15 hours or so I got out of it, I feel like I got my money's worth because I paid more money for the same amount of game time and not felt like I got nearly as much enjoyment out of it as I did this. So definitely pick it up, try it out, have some fun with it. Don't take it too seriously because it is not taking itself too seriously. If you guys like my content, and you want to see more of my content, I would appreciate it if you guys would give this video a like. If you find more of my content you really like, please consider subscribing to my channel. And to kind of keep that going so that you get notifications whenever I post anything, go ahead and click on the bell icon. That way you don't miss anything that I post, because I post a lot of content on here. Anything from toy reviews to game reviews to gameplay to game news. There's a lot of stuff going on this channel as I kind of find my way through this, and it really helps me when you guys take an interest and give me some feedback and kind of watch my videos and let me know what you like. It really helps me with the channel. So if you guys could take some time to do that, I'd really appreciate it. But until next time, I'm out.